their old favorite in red. So the draft should look very different here than the previous set.
Yeah. Curious to see how it changes, you know, with GenG getting so many pieces. We were even talking about a lot during the break and what it meant and how the Kai'Sa really worked into it all. Let's see how it changes here after the swap. The Nocturne is still going to be the ban alongside of the Ziggs by the same teams, even though it is on differing sides.
Yeah. Just don't want to give that away. And we see the same bans towards Rascal, the Viego, the Nocturne. So looking very similar here to start things off. And I don't think that it's out of the realm of possibility to see Hanwha Life Esports prioritize the Diana first if it's left open here. You know, if GenG decides to ban the Jin Zhao, just take that away because even though BDD was kind of our player of the game, the Diana was what allows BDD to actually go into those fights and set up for the big combos. And, you know, GenG also probably don't want to try the same strat twice because 100% I could tell you Kezman was like, all right, you guys probably shouldn't have fought for the Rift Herald there. There were a lot of fights you took. You didn't need to. And if the game was played out very differently in with the same draft, like the results could be wildly different. So
yeah, definitely.
Ban.
Yeah, the Renekton comes through, and then a blue side Jin Zhao, showing that Hanwha Life don't want to pick that up either. Varus is going to be banned here, and that Diana sticks out like a sore thumb. Do you just leave it again to Klid, or do you pick it yourselves? That's definitely the choice here.
Yeah, Johan coming in here, picking the Diana. Arthur's played it 3 times so far. I don't think this is a champion-specific decision where you're like, okay, we're going to pick blue side, we're going to pick Diana, and this is for you, Johan. I think that's not necessarily it. There's no way you could guarantee that you're going to get that. Just want to kind of dissuade that thought early. Is you leave Kalista to Ruler. So once again, we're going to have a fairly early game focused comp just in a very different way here. And
what about the Volibear for Klid?
Yeah, I like it.
He's played a lot. You can definitely get aggressive on it. You might have to draft some priority lanes to really shut down the Diana. But let's see what he's going to go with. The Lee Sin is also available here, so in terms of tier list, they might consider picking that up here.
Well, they will do that instead. He's only lost twice on the Volibear, but I think it's kind of it's been figured out. Now, last time we talked about how you could pick the Lucian, but you're playing into Chovy, so it doesn't feel like as strong of a pick. But now it's Chovy playing the Lucian, very likely, into BDD. So now he actually has lane prio control, and that's going to make a lot of these early fights tougher for GenG because that mid prio is going to be gone. Play into the Rise, it looks like here. Again, assuming that this is going to be Chovy on this because we have one time seen the AD carry Lucian.
Yeah, and definitely Deft is a guy that will pick that up from time to time and be able to play that one. Azir is the choice. I was actually really liking the Rise, but not going to be the consideration here. As it is BDD, of course, you always have to look at the nameplate when you do see the Azir locked in.
I think the Azir is going to have a way better time in lane against Chovy than the Rise was going to have, and I think that's a big part of this. You know, you're not usually going to get the gory solo kill. You know, with the Rise against the Lucian. Not really a thing that happens very often, but we have seen BDD against Lucians on Azir take the Comet rune and just, you know, end up doing quite well, in fact, in the laning phase. So we'll see if that comes true once again. Gwen taken away here. That's a pretty bold ban, considering that, you know, the Lee Sin is more likely to be played in the jungle here. Just taking that away from Rascal, I'd say more so than focusing on removing that from Klid.
Yeah. More target bans here towards Daft, who has not picked his AD carry just yet, so no Ziggs, Varus, Kai'Sa, or Aphelios will be played in this game.
Yeah. It's limited options here for Deft. He likes to play, you know, champions like the Kog'Maw, but not in drafts like this. So, see where he ends up going. As it's going to be, you know, kind of an awkward early game for him regardless. The Ezreal is still open. And this is all, of course, assuming, as GenG are very clearly, that this is not going to be bot Lucian.
Yeah.
So I think that's a pretty safe assumption to make.
Yeah,
well, they get the Leona, too.
If they wanted to do something crazy, maybe you take, like, the Akali into Azir and you just have Chovy try to carry on that champion and then put the Lucian somewhere else. But, again, it's kind of unlikely. I want to see exactly how much Hanwha Life are willing to flex here.
Ooh, Tristana is pretty interesting. You're not going to get, you know, absolutely owned by the Kalista as much as champions like Ezreal might. The Ashe has really been rising up in the LCK recently, and that'll be where they go with this. You know, you have a lot of power with her ultimate to engage at range, and that can set up with the arrow, the big combo for Set to come in, then the Diana, just like we saw. Similarly to how in the previous game, Life set up those fights with his Solar Flare. The arrow can be a great way to help that too. Her slows on top of it all are going to be really nice. Take the Alistar, it looks like, here for support, which means that that's going to be very likely the Set going to the top lane. So interesting composition here for Hanwha Life Esports. I do like it though.
Yeah, and Rascal, knowing that he is most likely going to be playing into that set, is definitely thinking about a Gnar of his own. Could definitely get more value than we saw from Morgan's Gnar in the last game. Not necessarily Morgan's fault, but I'm curious to see how this matchup will go with Rascal's Gnar this time around.
This composition for GenG has so much CC and so much you know, engaging power, but to engage into Set Diana and even the Ashe, Alistar, like when you think about the composition that Hanwha Life has to stop, you know, Gnar from coming in or Lee Sin from coming in, and doing a great amount of, you know, CC so that you can follow up that damage, it's a scary thought in the later parts of the game. So if Hanwha Life Esports have a tempo advantage in this game, it's going to feel very similar to how GenG won last game and how Hanwha Life struggled. I don't want to say it's one-to-one in terms of how these comps operate, because that's not true, but there is a certain element of wombo combo power here in this Hanwha Life Esports comp. And, you know, sometimes you kind of walk into that with a low-range composition that GenG is running, but they have the late-game Gnar power. If he's able to set up a, you know, secondary engage, they have the Azir, so Emperor's Divide's going to be huge. His scaling is awesome, so I think this draft is a lot closer in terms of where we're going to head towards mid to late game than the last game. Like, I think this should be a closer game. Hopefully.
Yeah.
I think it will be.
I mean, it does feel that way for sure. But GenG definitely looking on point in game number 1. And let's see what they can do this time around with this kind of a draft. How aggressive do Ruler and Life really want to try to get down there onto the Ashe Alistar? It's not going to be easy. Obviously, when you see Ashe Alistar, it's like, please don't fight me. Please get away from me. I would rather not try to fight you, at least in the laning phase, until later on, where they do have, obviously, some nice engage options. And I think a lot of the onus here is going to fall on Hanwha Life, or rather on Johan from Hanwha Life, because he has a nice amount of priority this time around. I feel like, you know, we saw Klid and what he was able to do, even with supports coming up at level 3, Arthur really trying to, you know, put on the pressure, take a bunch of the Scuttle Crabs. Not necessarily able to effectively counter jungle too much onto the Diana, but I'm curious to see how smooth it's going to be for Johan this time, and how much pressure GenG want to try to put on, if they can at all, especially with Chovy back on the Lucian, who does have Airy.
Yeah, taking the Airy again. It will be the Comet for BDD. So just generally how this one goes. The Airy getting a lot more popular nowadays for the Lucian. And, you know, you could look at these picks across the board. Like, these are somewhat rare picks. Morgan is usually not the guy who played set top. It was often Dudu. Then you have Chovy, never given the opportunity to really play the Lucian this season. And then you look at these numbers,
yeah.
You're like, okay.
Gets banned out an insane amount against Chovy. We saw a bunch of crazy carry performances, of course, from Chovy. The ones we mentioned before were the Yone and the Akali against GenG in spring, but he also had an insane Lucian game. And after that happened, we didn't really see Chovy play Lucian for the same reason that you mentioned. It basically just always got banned away from him, as Deft has played 40 LCK games of Ashe.
Yeah, that's not including his stats elsewhere, but, you know, I mean, that's still quite a lot. Definitely more popular than the earlier parts of his career as champion. She pops up back, you know, from time to time like Ezreal does, though. Sometimes in the support role, Usually going to be the AD carries. This is Chovy's win rate on the Lucian. He's only been allowed to play it 12 times, which is like, that is a testament to everything we're talking about.
The wording of what you just said is the most important part, right? It's not that he's only played 12 games, it's that he's been allowed to play 12 games.
And we're not talking about the coaching staff, we're talking about the enemy teams in the pick and ban phase. Because the coaching staff is always trying to push for it, and I guarantee you that.
It's definitely brave by GenG for them to feel like they have an answer into this, and it doesn't mean that Jovi's just automatically going to win lane, win game, and stomp them. It's just that Chovy does so much with lane priority and being able to carry with a lane lead. And Lucian is the perfect champion because he does both of those things to an extreme level that generally you just don't want to combo this champion with this player when you're playing against them.
Exactly. I mean, you don't want to have an amplified Chovy in any scenario. As we saw in the last game, it feels like a one-man team sometimes for HLE Esports because the one constant you are going to have with this roster is that Chovy is going to do well. He's going to have a CS lead. He's going to have a gold lead, right? And in the last game, he was extremely fed, but it just didn't matter in the end.
Okay, we're trying to get on in here. Nice knock away onto Ruler, but the damage gets deft incredibly low, and he actually gets in range.
Oh my god.
Flash Rend as Ruler just laughs at him. Takes his way to the bank.
That's just something that, you know, you just don't really expect the Flash Rend. I was expecting the Spanish Inquisition way before I was expecting that to happen.
True.
I mean, Ruler just goes in, he's like, okay, I can get a range, but here's the counter engage.
Okay, and again, Ruler doesn't have flash. He actually gets knocked in perfectly. That is a fantastic follow-up.
Chovy reacts so quickly to this level 4 gank from Clid too, so he ends up being fine here. Loses his flash, though.
And that is good. You really want to take away the flash from the Lucian so he's not able to put on as much pressure.
Yeah, because now, I mean, yeah, he's not able to put on as much pressure, but also now you have kill pressure as Azir into a Lucian. If the jungle comes by, you cannot avoid your Emperor's Divide if you use it perfectly, whereas the flash allows you that guarantee. As we're going to watch Ruler's first-person view here. So he's headbutted away. He's like, I'm going to try to hit my skill. Boom, flashes in casually.
And I think it was Life calling for the play, right? With the scan, and he's trying to, like, set that one up. He says 6 play at the end, by the way. Which it was. It was a really cool one.
But then there was a sick follow-up from Johan.
Good stuff, and this is what you can do. You get that flash away, but in comes Johan as well. BDD's very low. Will go down. Now it's a 2-on-2, but Clid is incredibly low, and Johan is just getting so much value here. Trying to hit that strike, but he will not be able to, as the flash is enough to get Clid to safety.
Yeah, so ends up being traded here, which is pretty amazing for HLE Esports, all things considered. It looked pretty disastrous for Chovy, and Clid was level 4 in this scenario. They did not look for the level 6 timing I was talking about, but like you said, I mean, he's still vulnerable with no flash in general, not as safe. There are punish plays available. And the same can happen because his flash is still down for a really long time once BDD does have his Emperor's Divide. And this could end up being a game where Chovy is just completely muted in the early game because of all the pressure.
Okay, Morgan trying to set something up here on a Rascal with no Mega Gnar as he will be forced to flash away. Lots of damage comes out. It's good respect from Rascal, but a good read from Morgan as well, to know that he could get that summoner away.
Yeah, it's going to guarantee that he has to teleport back in, so you can just neutralize the teleport advantage that Rascal had very briefly. You can see him using it right there on the top side now. As, you know, I mean, level 6 is hit for BDD. Clid is very close. Ping's coming down here for Johan right before that, actually, as Azir is pushing the lane. It's another huge opportunity here. BDD has no flash. Look at his positioning, is so good, though, and Clid's here.
This is going to be a 2-on-2. Clid is in position, but a lot of damage is taken, and BDD just says, nope, we don't want to engage here. Johan shows himself, and that will be successfully avoided. Not too much damage taken by the culling either.
Yeah, really nice safeguard from Clid to minimize a little bit of that at the end. And you avoid what could be, you know, one of the scariest times, right, is that level 6 timing, because you actually pull the trigger first as Johan. You're like, nope, Clid's going to hit 6, so they're looking for this fight potentially, and I'm going to be here first, so they just can't have it. Just take that opportunity away. I think this might be, nope, this is going to be watching this again. I thought we were going to watch the top side tussle. But yeah, this is just Life comes through, has the engage, Clid's here, but he's level 4, and Vista headbutts him away. It actually removes a lot of the damage here, and then he gets stunned. Very easy follow-up here. Make it a trade.
Yeah. He's able to get out of line. Things are definitely feeling really good for Johan, by the way.
Yeah.
He's been extremely smoothly just scaling up here. He's got a lot of CS. He's up on the Lee Sin, on levels and on farm. Now, Clid is trying to make up for that here. He's looking for a dive. He has the kick, and they're just going to go for the easy cow rather than for the Ashe who had flash. And that's going to be a nice kill secure that they do give over to Ruler.
Feels so bad as Vista. Deft is like, you're on your own, buddy. Flashes away, too. So ends up losing the flash, so it's doubly impactful, this gank. And, you know, he had cleanse available, but he was just not going to mess with it with all the CC. Ruler didn't even have to use his ultimate there to secure the kill. So it ends up being really nice for them. And it's a pretty back and forth game. This is kind of what I was alluding to, in that neither team has like the early game comp to where, you know, it's just like, okay, well, you lose these fights against the early game comp like Hanwha did last game, and then you just fall super far behind and there's no hope. It's not a game like that where both teams actually can be extremely proactive early game. And yeah, it's a nice assist that Clid's able to pick up. He's still behind, but you have to make a play like that, or you're just going to find yourself further and further behind. So I'm glad you pointed that out too, because those are the things you have to do, right? And you have Kalista, you're strong on that bottom side. Make the play, make it happen.
Yeah. He does a good job of that. He's still down 25 CS on Johan, who is just farming up a storm right now. The fact that he was able to really quickly secure the kill on the bottom side, even though it feels really bad for Deft and Vista for sure. This Diana, in the meanwhile, she gets all the benefits of everything that bottom lane kind of lost. So
yeah,
he's going to be pretty crazy. We're going to see another big Diana in this game as the arrow is close. And okay, it's actually right on point. He meant to hit Clid all the time. The Crab Rave comes up.
That's the arrow timing, try to steal the Raptors. So.
He should have gone EP.
Yeah, you know, it all comes back to the itemization. But yeah, I mean, that could have been an amazing play if it does connect, right? Catch BDD there. You have the follow-up. Ends up being straight up a kill, so why not? Because you're not going to use that arrow to great success defensively here on the bottom side under your turret. Rascal.
Yeah, they're trying to bait in Rascal here. The hop is down, and he is so crushed underneath the turret. They give that over to Morgan. And with the Rift Herald in hand, they're going to get so much value. There's nobody up here.
Nothing. Nothing can stop them.
They're going to get the whole turret here.
They will. They will get the whole thing. And this is a lot of extra gold going over to Morgan, right? He ended up getting that early kill. Now he's got an assist, and he's going to get every single 80 this plate tosses towards him. And, like, I mean, you didn't have to give the gold. I mean, it's so much money. You didn't have to give the gold over to Morgan, but when you consider how much he's going to get anyways, I guess it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. Because if you give more gold over to Diana, she's going to feel amazing, but she's already got her upgraded boots, she's already got a rocket belt. She's sitting pretty.
Yeah. Set's online, the Diana's online, the Lucian is pretty much as well. Of course, most farm in the game here going to Chovy. They are bleeding down in the bottom side a bit, but I mean, we'll see how much value this Kalista is going to be able to get. I'm not so sure, right? We saw how the Kalista did into Fed, Set, and Diana in the last game. So I'm curious to see exactly how hard Ruler can carry this one. BD's not that far behind, but this is looking really good right now for Helm of Life, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and might look even better with Rascal getting caught here. No, they're not outnumbered.
Who's caught in here with who? He's going to have to flash away.
Yeah, that's going to be a nice grab there on the flash. Rascal gets out scot-free. But, you know, GenG, I think, really need money more than flashes right now. They were able to get Deft's flash away earlier, but weren't able to get anything out of that from him either. Sure, they got the kill onto Vista, but this is a situation where GenG need to really stem the bleeding, and getting kills is where...
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
He has no idea.
And it's a control ward, too, so Johan knows he's very safe to do this.
He just moves in closer. And he's just going to wait for this one. The hop is down, and with no... Oh, he does have the flash, but he's... Oh, there he is going to use it right at the last moment, but one last move. He's going to be able to dodge it. And with Clid in position, going to even further deny that as in goes BDD looking for the pick. As that is going to be the flash once again taken away from Chovy, this time
And you could see
solo.
the impact of having flash when these ganks come through. I mean, this was a roam from Life. He comes up. You have BDD with the opportunity to really set this up. Life commits even the Zenith Blade because he's like, we hit this, he's dead 100%. But when you do have flash, you can flash the Emperor's Divide because it's very telegraphed ultimate. You know when it's coming through. So very well handled. There's so much CC between the Diana and the set in terms of team fights, but even in a solo lane, right, where you're just very easily able to take out Lenar here. I mean, this is the first time it happened. The second time, it basically was successful, but they ended up messing up, botching the execution at the end. Facebreaker doesn't connect there. And look at this dodge. Woo! He's in the Matrix.
Yeah.
He sees things differently than us.
Well, he's going to need to see a lot more things differently because there's a lot of work to do for him up there on the top side. It's down 1,000 gold, and the biggest lead will come into the jungle, as we did mention. This time, in game number 1, GenG were able to win the one big fight over the Rift Herald and basically turn that into every objective and an absolute stomp of a game. GenG, they got the first streak and they're going to get the second one, whereas Rascal is basically just going to be the fodder that is fed over in trade.
This is it's a disaster.
He is going to hop the wall, but you're not getting away from the Diana. So
Can't dodge that one.
that's another kill into the pockets of Johan.
It's starting to feel like, spring round 1 Gnar here. The orange buff making a bit of a return,
Yeah.
unfortunately, with the amount of CC and lockdown, plus the fact that Diana is super fed. Like, they're just using this orange buff in the Gnar for Rascal to get money to their wombo combo carries, right, in the Diana and the set, and it's working. She's got her stopwatch online now, so you can't really hope to win this team fight that's upcoming here.
Yeah. And if you're Rascal, why are you there? This has happened so much. So there's no turret. You're up there. You have zero vision. You're an R. You're not even Mega Gnar. Even if you are, maybe he was at the beginning of the trade. It doesn't matter. You're not going to get away. You don't have flash anymore. Your jungler's on the bottom side trying to take Dragon. Why are you here?
I mean, the wave state is so terrible, so you can't really do anything in terms of farming unless you go this far up. So, that's why he is there, right? But the thing is, do you get one minion wave to die and give Diana more money? Obviously that's not the choice, but there aren't good choices anymore when you've lost your turret sub 15 minutes. You were successfully ganked 3 times, only 2 of those ended up going onto the scoreboard, of course, but you're like, well, if I don't get money and get these items online, if I don't get my Divine Sunder, do I even exist in this game? So it's a catch-22 problem he has to live through here, and it's unfortunate that Hanwha Life Esports are punishing him so well.
Yeah, he finally does swap down to the bottom side. Yeah, he'll be trying to work on his first item here. GenG, they're going to make the right choice. They're not going to try to fight over this second Rift Herald. They don't have a LeBlanc to try to steal it and get the eye. As the arrow does come in, that's a really nice blast engage. As BDD's in a lot of trouble, but he is able to turn it around as the Fate's calling it so much value. But here comes Morgan, and finally the carries of Hanwha Life show up. As that's a double kill now for Chovy. Let's add some more gold into yet another carry. Hanwha Life are flying away with this one.
Rascal's like, well, I can finish my first item with this turret, I suppose, because I'm not going anywhere near that mid lane push. Rift Herald does get the charge, but oh no!
Yeah, he's totally dead.
What a play!
Not even expecting that. I mean, there was even without the blast plant, it's Hex Flash. Right, it's Alistair. They're trying to get on top of this back line now as maybe Hanwha Life went a little bit too far. This is some decent gold being given back to the side of GenG, but they're not going to get Johan, and the Boomerang's going to miss, as well as the Q. Nobody can seem to hit any of these guys. They have the plot armor in this game, both the set and the Diana.
It's insane. Oh my god. All right, well, at least they're able to get the pick on the ruler. They do punish with the kill on the Vista. As we're going to go back to this moment here, the arrow connects on the BDD. He buffers the stun, but he's still going to get caught here by Vista. And this is actually really nice coordination from Hanwha Life Esports, to be totally honest. Going into this series, I wasn't sure what we were going to get. I thought there was going to be a lot of, kind of Chovy gapping going on, and maybe a little bit of excitement around some late game team fights if GenG made some small mistakes. But this is actually just very similar to last game. Unlife Esports utilizing their ability to get picks so well in the early game, and this is when, you know, it's a little bit too long here as Vista's going to sacrifice himself, stuck under turret. Well, let's everybody else get out.
And we're going to watch this again.
This is really just plot armor, as you say.
Nicely done by Morgan.
아! 괜찮아!
I'm okay.
할 수 있어, 할 수 있어, 할 수 있어, 할 수 있어. 플래시 아꼈어, 플래시 아꼈어. 야, 발본 좋네요.
He's very happy about his situation, as he should be. Now, we have all of these extremely fed carries on the side of Hanwha. Funnily enough, they're not even 1,000 gold ahead.
Yeah.
After all of this.
Oh, it's
and
crazy.
It's the gap down in the bottom side. Also, the farm of Rascal, he's really caught up. As Set was a part of that huge excursion into the mid lane, and Rascal was just totally ignoring it and just farming up, trying to catch up here, and he has. So there are some pieces for GenG, and they're keeping in the game, but you still have to deal with Mega Fed Diana. You got the Lucian who's online, the Set as well.
But just not able to hit that Q either. Might have had an opportunity to commit onto Chovy there. Force his flash maybe, but does not happen. They're still looking for picking off this Lucian. Look at Morgan's position here. You can actually taxi in if they're not careful.
Yeah, definitely thinking about it. This is Infernal Soul, so neither team wants to give this one away.
No, it's super important.
GenG, even from behind, they want to get in here. That's nice. They're looking for the Ashe, and they will immediately take down the Ashe. Could able to come in from behind, but let's see the turnaround here from Hanwha Life. The knock-up on a Johan. He doesn't get that much value with his ultimate either, but Chovy is still alive, trying to get the damage down, but the kick comes in, and they're going to take him down. The other side of the fight here, though, Johan and Morgan were able to get some work done. As the boomerang comes in and slows them down, Johan and Morgan, they can't seem to die in this game. As GenG will go in and get another one, and BDD is so healthy with so much mana. He's looking to try to win this one, to put in the damage for his team. What an insanely close fight as Morgan just dodges everything in this game.
Yeah, not to mention the Q misses from Johan again. This just keeps happening. This is the slipperiest 10 players that we have in the LCK altogether. But you know, when you lose out on your Ashe at the beginning of a fight like that, if you can't get the kills early.
Oh, okay. Gets leads in, and he gets stunned, and he's trying to get BDD here. There's no help for him, actually. The Q will come in, and finally they take down the Diana. But the teleport comes in from Chovy a little bit too late. At least he's looking to clean up the scraps here. Should be able to get a couple, you'd imagine.
Rascal's, you know, Nara barless, but not going to be able to do much. I was like, maybe he could kill Deft. He's 3 levels up, but not alone. It was Deft, but yeah, going back to the beginning of that fight, because that was a really extended exchange. GenG do end up getting the big prize, as you mentioned, which is the Infernal Soul point, which is so massive for them.
No.
Ruler is going to be fine.
He's found a lot of spots on this map to make his spot.
Yeah, it's like anywhere where he's by himself is like, that's the Ruler spot. I'm like, no, he just went back to Fountain. He just respawned. Reddit's like, no, the Ruler gets caught there every time. I'm like, no, he's just in he's buying items right now.
Caught by Boris again. Hate when that happens.
In this fight, the fact that they're able to pick Deft right away means there's just not really extended damage output. The Solar Flare threads the knee. I mean, it was so perfect from Life, and he could just instantly get baits called out. Then Chovy is able to do a ton of damage in the later part of this. Like, he dashed over the wall, but he's just not able to secure the kills. So now you're like, okay, we used our combo, but we don't have any damage anymore. Chovy's isolated, and the fight gets kind of split up here. Because the health bars are so low for GenG, you know, this does end up being a bit of a trade back here.
Yeah.
But it was crazy how well GenG played this fight, like all things considered. And Deft, if he's just a little bit better positioned, this looks completely different. Looks extremely one-sided, in fact, for Hanwha Life.
Yeah, I mean, Deft wishes he was a champion in this game.
Yeah.
But he absolutely just got lined up and taken down, so nicely done from Life, as Johan is getting so much work done.
Johan's playing this game like it's what's going to decide who's starting for the rest of the season. He has had such a fantastic performance.
Yeah. And, you know, Arthur was coming in here for quite a while in a row, so there is actually a lot to fight for. You're fighting for that starting spot, at least for the next game, you'd have to imagine.
Yeah.
So, wouldn't be surprised to see Johan coming in once again.
Yeah, regardless of the result, his performance has been fantastic.
Yeah.
Deft, on the other hand, you know, you mentioned him not really being a champion. It's partially the matchup, but he's also been picked 3 times this game, you know, and Same is true of Vista, right? He wasn't able to survive in those early ganks, and he overextended in the mid lane. This bot duo, unfortunately, coming up a little bit flat here, and they really have to be the glue that holds this comp together. Once again, Life.
Oh, they're trying to get the Diana, but again,
Everything
misses. And now, look at Ruler in the front line. He cannot escape now, and Zed is going to dunk him into the ground. The kick comes out for the disengage, as the culling isn't going to do much. GenG at least able to only lose one, but let's see what Homolife can get off the back of this. They're looking towards the top side of that river, but they have some low health bars. Do you take the chance here? Do you go for it? Doesn't look like it.
I don't think so. Not with Ashe having 2 daggers. You're like, maybe we don't quite have the damage to do that as quickly as we would like to. But, you know, I mean, the scenario here is, once again, a lot of skill shots going wide, but also just the power of what this composition does for Hunter Life Esports in these grouped up scenarios. Again, very similar to what happened in Game 1. Diana is so strong right now. And you watch the fight roll forward, and Deft is like, let me hurt somebody, like I can't do any damage. And that's what's most concerning right before we went into that fight was me talking about the fact that this Ashe's impact is going to be basically her ultimate and her slows, you know, for a long time in this game. That's kind of what she is. So if you don't have those amazing moments where Johan actually gets the big moonfall, then you can't win longer extended team fights because your damage throughput isn't safe enough because Deft is so squishy, doesn't do damage. Chovy is so low range that he's going to struggle too. So you really need the fight to end quickly as Hunter Life.
Interesting arrow here. There's no follow-up right now. But it's a very low cooldown. Generally, I think he should have it by the time the fight for the Infernal Drake starts, but extremely optimistic on that one for sure.
I think they're just wanting to get the prio. They're like so desperate to clear this vision up right now.
It just, okay, Chovy, I don't know about this one. He has a stopwatch though. Was it the bait in the end? He's able to kite it back. And look at that! In goes Johan, gets 4 in the back line. And the follow-up is quite nice as well. BDD is trying to frontline, but he can only do that for so long. As Rascal as well is trying to get roped in here, but he will be able to escape, and that is a massive catch from Homolife.
I mean, I think even Atlas is going to be calling for more Johan after this. This is absolutely a fantastic performance from this player. He's 5-1-6. The majority of the kills here on this game he's been involved in, and when you hit the R button at the right time with this composition, like that's how you win fights. You have to win them basically instantaneously, and that's exactly what he keeps doing. Like, look at this, Chovy sets up for what looks like a bait, right? And then Johan is like, oh, you guys are all grouped up. Like, look at where everybody's standing. He says, everyone on Hunter Life Esports is walking left. Well, I'm going right, because there's a huge opportunity here. And then Chovy just helps clean up house. BDD is trying to save his teammates with the Emperor's Divide, unsuccessfully.
Yeah, he was just, everybody got caught at the same time. It was a magnificent bait. Chovy fans will be screaming it was all Chovy all along, but absolutely Johan with some magnificent plays. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty big because, again, that's one Infernal Drake that you get for your team, but you also deny, of course, Infernal Soul for GenG. You extend a bit of that gold lead. That it was a little bit vague here in the mid-game where it's like, ooh, you know, GenG's kind of coming back. That's a really big fight to try to take the momentum back into your hands.
And I think that there's a real case for Hunter Life Esports removing that Baron vision and starting to potentially start a Baron. Because now they're really starting to come online, right? You know, as soon as I say that, Deft gets shown on screen. Well, he's still got a ways to go, but in terms of everybody else in this game, like, the items are there. Like, we're nearing, you know, there aren't many more spikes to hit, right? Like, outside of the Ashe, like, Johan has this Morellonomicon online. And I think I said Ashe, Diana rather, I should say, Johan. And now, like, if you can clear this vision up, GenG have to engage into you to stop the Baron. You have such a great turn with this composition, and I wouldn't necessarily trust that Johan would be the one to actually hit these Moonfalls so consistently going into the second game in this series, but I do now. I do trust. I do believe that if GenG try to, you know, turn a fight on a Baron, like, they might just end up losing the second game. We go to a game 3 over it. So yeah, now that you're starting to see this group up, you're starting to see, like, okay, we take some of this vision away. Let's start fighting for objectives because we are no longer a team that's kind of waiting for Diana to come online. She's been online for a while, you know.
Yeah. And Ruler, he was kind of the only guy on the side of GenG that was getting really fed from the early game, but we're seeing a similar problem from game number 1 where Kallista's at this range length where you're trying to fight into Diana, Set, Lucian, Alistar. You're getting slowed by volleys all the time. It's really difficult to play it out. And there's not a lot of peel on your team, right? You have like Emperor's Divides, you can try to kite back, but it's not really enough. And yes, he's got a lot of gold. He picks up the Wit's End.
Yeah.
Can that get him enough tankiness? You know, he's got that extra gold to pick up the defensive item.
It's
I'm not so
hard.
sure, but they're going to need him alongside of BDD to carry here in the later stages.
Exactly, because like you have a lot of setup. You have a Gnar and an Azir. Like, you know, that's an insane amount of setup for any 80 carry to do damage, but it's a low range one in the Kalista, right? So the Wit's End helps you survive here, but as Ruler, you're like, I don't know if I could do it, right? You probably have doubts right now about what your carry potential really is going to be. And there's still pick potential for GenG, right? If they find somebody, if somebody's out of position, especially Chovy or Deft, like they can absolutely get that pick and then remove that damage. But if everyone on HLE Esports has vision control, has prio, has the better setup, that's when it just becomes so insanely hard. Because in order to get in, to actually have that moment where you do pop off and have your combos and Ruler gets in there, you're walking into the set, you're walking into the Diana, even the Ashe, like you said. It's just a nightmare to deal with. And when if the Diana was also like a little bit further behind, you'd feel better about it. But the fact that when she ults, she doesn't just set up for the damage, but she does the damage.
She is the danger.
Yeah, she is the danger.
Again, we're making the same reference.
I just
2 games in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's like
a good one.
Probably like the 8th time I've done it this season too. But there's always a danger, right, on the Rift. In this case, you know, it's Johan.
Yeah. I mean, he absolutely is. And he's going to be looking at Void Staff here. He might even get it before this next fight breaks out over the Infernal Drake. And that's incredibly scary when you consider where they're at. It's interesting to see Deft go full squishy build. We've seen some Ashes try to attempt to say, okay, well, they're going to try to dive me anyway. Maybe I can survive. He's like, no, if they dive me, I'm dead. Like, I'm going to die anyway. Let me try to do some damage as I go down.
Yeah, the Shattered Stopwatch there in the inventory just kind of like really solidifies, you know, everything you're saying. It's just kind of like, yeah, there's no out for me. Might as well just press cleanse now.
He and Chovy both used it in that last fight, and I'm glad you pointed out right now.
It's really important.
They're trying to get on top of Morgan here, but the rotation is in from Hanwha Life. They have some nice control over the river, but look at Vista. He's being kited down. That's a lot of damage going on to him before the fight even begins, but now Solar Flare is down. So trading support ultimates for now.
And GenG, this is exactly the scenario you want, right? You have the prio here on the Drake, so you can actually look for the fight that's on your terms.
Ruler's trying to pull it over to his side. He's like, get over here, Dragon.
Really nice respect here on the teleport from Morgan, actually, from GenG. And like you said, they're kind of trying to pull the Drake. You know, it's almost like they're going to leash tied to it, literally, trying to pull it over.
Yeah. Rascal trying to send away Morgan. He wants that Mega Gnar here as in we go. The smite, no, it goes the way of Johan as Life is going in now, trying to be a frontline for his team. And HLE Life saying, no, we got the Dragon. We don't have to force into your concave. Let's just back away.
Yeah. And like the crazy thing about this too is if this game just kind of slows down, then Deft actually becomes a champion in this game, and Ashe actually does things. So if you can win the objective fights, you don't have to have those amazing engages. You don't even have to risk it, because you could flip the game here for no reason and actually throw away all your advantages, or just kind of win no matter what, right? And that's what they're going to choose to do. As we'll go back to this. I think the Drake was at 45 health when the smite went down. So yeah, it was pretty insane how close that ended up being. Because if GenG get that, the game looks totally different, actually. So HLE Esports like, whew, there's like wiping sweat off the brow and walking away.
Yeah. That's it's definitely the right move. We've seen a lot of other teams just trying to force it, especially from ahead, but HLE Life, they've got a head on their shoulders tonight.
GA
for game 2.
GA is up for Deft. That's one way that, you know, if he gets dope upon, he can kind of exist afterwards. Obviously going to have a lot of extra damage with this. It's his 3rd item now online, so he and Chovy both have so much power. And, you know, again, it just means that you're guaranteed to have a lot better damage throughput in this longer fight that is going to eventually unfold. They're still not going to pull the trigger on this Baron. They'd rather just play around the vision And they don't have a comp that can just kind of choke out GenG like GenG did previously, where they were just like, okay, well, I'm going to push top, and if you come, you die. They kind of have to play us a little bit slower, but they're happy to do so. So the real onus right now is on GenG to figure out a way to get those picks and actually, 5v4, 5v3 if they can. I think that's really the best way GenG wins this game. And maybe it's because Clid gets a sick kick on an awesome flank angle. He has an insect moment, and then it's a 5v4. Those are ways you can get into this team fight with an advantage. But otherwise, like, Hanwha Life, advantage on vision here. The next Drake fight is so far away. This is all they really need to do is kill minions and keep this vision advantage. That's the plan.
The thing about GenG's comp that I kind of like at this position is that they have some decent kite ability with the Kalista. If you're not fully engaging and you're not getting, 4-man moonfalled by Diana, you're most of the time winning. You got the Azir for some poke. You're kind of like hopping back and setting up shots with Ruler, but I think, even if BDD tries to hard engage and get like Big Emperor's Divide, I don't even know if GenG win the fight from there because of the amount of upfront burst damage from Hanwha Life. Like, yeah, he can knock 4 people up in the air, and then Diana and Set and Lucian just dive into you, and maybe they still win the fight. So, I mean, it's going to be really difficult for GenG to try to fight it at this point in the game.
Not to mention that they have all flashes available too. So, like, it's really hard to even consider that will occur. Like, it feels optimistic at best, unfortunately, and Ruler's on GenG in this case. If maybe Deft was Ruler, you'd feel like, well, maybe we don't know what's going to happen. Like, there's something, he's going to go to a weird place on the map that everyone's going to say it's the same spot every time, and then he's going to die, and then that's the game one, but not the case. And he's just been given so much free farm now that, like I was saying before, he's become a champion. He actually exists. He is relevant in this game.
Chovy, I actually witnessed Chovy giving away farm to death.
Yeah.
Like, that actually happened in this game. Not a common sight.
Yeah, very rare.
You wouldn't think, especially with Chovy just vacuuming up most of the CS on the map most of the time.
It's crazy how, like, this game has been really quite unique in where the leads were on the map. And it's another showcasing of how Kalista can struggle if, even though she gets a lead in the early game, she can't find any strong engages in the late game, or just doesn't have a front line that can allow her to close that gap. It's a big range problem. These are moments like this, like, where if you grab Vista here, maybe you can win that fight, right? So GenG have to be posturing for this at all times.
Whoa, okay. That's exerting dominance right now, trying to get on top of Rascal. Rascal is not scared to try to kite this out, as he has the Mega Gnar coming up here. But Hanwha Life now with the inner track onto the mid lane. Looking to try to set this up. They spot the Mega Gnar up on the top side. The culling looking to zone them away, but that's another ultimate down here from Hanwha Life.
If Rascal loses this Mega Gnar, you just can't really fight this anymore. And Hanwha Life Esports, they are not looking to win a 5v5 fight right now, right here. They're not trying to push an inhibitor turret. They're just trying to get Drake prio. Because once again, they can take a Drake and then move back. And guess what? They're like, oh, GenG might try to trade this.
Yeah.
So we're just going to group up.
They're just going to, I think, all in it here. Yep, they're all over the wall. And the Dragon is taken. GenG could have assumed that was going to happen. But they have so much Baron damage. But not everybody's hitting it here, really. BDD is actually up on the side. And now we have the jungler coming up, but it's not on time as the Rem set comes in. Morgan tries to go for the engage, but the damage is there. They take out the set, and now with the Baron, can GenG actually win this? No, Deft is kiting it out excellently, and there it is. Johan gets in again, gets into the back line and picks up 2, but BDD is trying to carry it by himself, and he might just be able to. Ruler's still alive, somehow kiting it out the entire time, and GenG might have just won this. They have the Baron, and they'll look to push the mid lane.
They're going to push the lane to win the game, and that was such a huge turnaround moment, a decisive moment for GenG. Go into the Drake pit here, and even with good fighting here from Deft, the positioning is so good, and Johan has the really amazing engage. Morgan being picked early means that you just don't have an amazing front line anymore as Hanwha Life. Look at Chovy and Deft. They're trying to do what they can. There's a huge disconnect. And Clid here, has his res available. So in this longer fight, it's like Deft and Chovy are suddenly frontlining, and they're like, wait, we can't be here. We can't win this.
Okay, and they're not going to push for the end here. The death timers are too low. They're too short, even 37 minutes into the game, because they had to push a couple of turrets, actually 3 turrets to get here.
Yeah, the mid turret was still up. So, not going to be able to end this right now, but, I mean, they've already gotten
swing.
Yeah, 4,600 gold. They're actually ahead in gold now. And there's the biggest issue, actually, for GenG is that there's no Drake to take right now and go, okay, well, we got the soul. Because it was super well played by Life Esports, regardless of losing the Baron fight there. They had Johan quickly take the Drake and run over, so they were guaranteed that. They knew GenG were going to try to, kind of bum rush in and try to hope for the best, and that's what happened, in fact. But unfortunately, Morgan dying there early just meant that even though Chovy and Deft, who have 3 Infernal Drakes and are basically full build, both have GAs, both have Dominics, they're not able to win the fight in the end when everyone on GenG had stopwatch advantage. Actually, in fact, Rascal and Clit still hold that at the moment. And you're able to basically eventually win this war of attrition once you close the gap onto Chovy and Deft. Like, they don't have armor. They're squishy. They die, and they end up losing out in the end. It was so well played by BDD, as you mentioned.
Yeah, and somehow Ruler, towards the end of the fight, he was just like sitting in the back at full health. He never overcommit. He was just kiting out all the opponents that were coming into them, and it was a very similar way they tried to play out the Infernal Drake fight, the second one that Life got, where they were setting up a concave, and they're like, okay, if you want to fight, we'll fight. And then Life didn't call their bluff. They're like, no, we're not going to fight into that. But on the Baron fight, they did, and they got punished, as we did see. Even with the 4-man moonfall from Johan again, it didn't matter. It wasn't enough just because of the positioning from GenG and the ability of Azir and Kalista to kite people out. And that's exactly what I was saying before.
Yeah.
If you can make a fight play out that way, you still have a lot of power here.
And I think the only reason it plays out that way so well is because GenG had, better positional advantage there because they got there first, right? They owned it quickly. They were able to basically front to back this somehow because Morgan was killed early on, and there wasn't much of the way of really following up and peeling for Ruler to actually just close the gap and do that consistent damage. So, that fight is very difficult to have happen, and I don't know if it will happen again. Like, Life Esports absolutely can still win this game.
Well, GenG are doing something with this Baron that's very nice. They have total control over the jungle, and there's, it feels like miles between Life and the Infernal Drake. So GenG are just trying to control the space and looking to do the same thing, have them kite into them and fight like that. That's a nice arrow here. They're going to get life, and that's a bunch of kiting damage, but Morgan tries to get in there. It doesn't matter. They're still able to burst him down, and Ruler's going to get picked here as well. And this time the bluff is called, and it should be good. Really nice follow-up knockup. BDD does some insane damage, but he's pretty much all alone at this point. He's still trying to 1v5 right now.
I go in there.
As he is very desperate to make the play.
You got Chovy's GA, but you might lose the game over this one. Now there is the mid turret up on the inhibitor right now. But with only 2 players here to defend, oh no.
Life are not sure exactly what to do.
Yeah, this is actually really bad indecisiveness here, but they're going to look for Rascal now.
He does not have his leap, it looks like. They're just trying to 2v5, a lot of low health bars here as Deft easily able to flash away from that one, and now they hop onto him, and that is disastrous for Life. As Rascal could get a lot of damage, but at the end of the day, the Diana's still here trying to trade it back, but Chovy comes back. And another GA is popped. How many of them are there in the shop exactly?
Well, now GenG have successfully bought enough time to get those respawns through, so the game will go on. But Life Esports are going to get the 4th Infernal Drake for the soul. You're not going to see another one of these, okay? I mean, no game has ever been anything like this one. As Life gets picked here, it's a really nice attempt to pull him away with the Fate's Call, but this is GenG just overextending massively, trying to choke Life Esports out and put the distance between them and the Drake. As you said, they get punished, but then Life Esports aren't decisive. BDD grabs GA here, and he did not have Flash, so I guess he probably wasn't going to get out of there either way, so my bad on the call on that one. But either way, that's all they get, and then they're extremely indecisive here, and Rascal's got a full health bar, he's got his Gnar bar, and then suddenly Deft dies, and everything falls apart here. Has to flash early, but then he can still get jumped on.
Look at Johan and the amount of value he gets with this low health. He's waiting. He comes in.
Yeah. No,
And the kick is huge as well.
This should have been better for Hanwha Life Esports, arguably, but you know, because they were indecisive for a moment, it ends up being GenG survives here, and this game has flipped like an hourglass.
Oh boy. Well, now what do you do? 4 Infernal Drake sold for Hanwha Life. Look at the Baron. Does it even exist?
Yeah, I know.
He's gonna try to steal it, but nope, not this time. As Johan will shut down that idea, and now he's trying to get the kill onto Klid as well. We got a fight on the bottom side. Down will go Klid. As in goes to set another huge moonfall. BDD, he's trying to kite it out here, but the Zhonya's will only keep him alive for so long. They're gonna take him down, and it's only Rascal. I think Hanwha Life have finally done it.
Yeah, I think so.
Although,
I mean, plot armor, you know, has been like one of the stories we had throughout this game.
wait.
He teleports top.
And
Mark ping.
I mean, he's stopped this mid lane, but there's more minions coming.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he's hoping that they're going to collapse onto him instead, but I have bad news. They are not. He's going to back right now, but there's just no way to buy time for these extremely long death timers. And we talked about plot armor. We talked about players not getting caught. Rascal, he's not going to have enough plot armor to stay alive this time.
And stopwatch, but
the writers for this series, okay, they were like, Chronicler tweeted out it was going to be the best day of LCK summer, and so far, it has delivered 2 fantastic back-to-back games here. The second game, though,